Well, good morning and welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday. I am your host, Tracy Kraushorn. This is Wayne Kraushorn.
Good morning.
And as promised, we have a special guest with us this morning. This is Riz Hakim from PBX Change. Riz
Good
comes
morning,
to Good morning. He is an enterprise account executive with PBX Change, a business and voice internet service provider based in Tampa Bay for over 20 years. Riz has an extensive tenure in the telecom industry with a background in service sales and project management. His experience has taken him from residential to small to medium-sized businesses and enterprise level accounts. He is the current president of his Business Networking International Chapter Revenue Source. Welcome, Riz. Thank you for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys so much for having me here today. And how are you guys doing?
We're good.
We're good.
We're good. How was your weekend?
It was great. Got a lot of work done around the house. Got to relax a little bit and ready to get back to it this week.
Good. Awesome. That's always a productive weekend. Wayne, how about you?
Yeah. So, we were sitting around with a bunch of the neighbors, and as you know, we have signed on to a big scavenger hunt the weekend before Halloween for all the kids. Mm-hmm. And now I'm looking at the calendar, and it's less than 4 weeks, and I'm wondering, what did we sign up for? So now I'm a little scrambling about all the stuff we have to do, but it'll be a lot of fun. It's for all the littles, and we're going to be gathering parts to build a monster and throughout the neighborhood. It should be fun.
Yeah, it'll be a good time.
Very cool.
It'll be a good time. Well, each week we come to you to educate and support our business community, and the goal of these talks is IT is ever changing, and we just want to make sure you are up to date with all the newest and latest and greatest information. And so today we are going to talk about VoIP systems. So Riz, can you tell us briefly what a VoIP system is and how it works?
Yeah, sure thing. So VoIP, quite simply, stands for Voice over Internet Protocol. So the easiest comparison I can give you is back in the days, if you remember doing the tin can experiment on a string and talking to your buddy across the room. But those were analog phone lines, and they would actually, your phone calls would go over copper lines. So nowadays, it actually goes over the internet instead. So it's opened up a whole new world of features, connectivity, and if this year has taught us anything, helped a lot of businesses work remotely as well.
Okay. Good. Yes. So Riz, I got a question for you. I've seen this acronym CLEC. What is it? And is it important to businesses?
Yeah, so great question. A CLEC is a competitive local exchange carrier. What that simply means is back in 1996, there was a Telecommunications Act passed, which basically broke up the monopoly that all the ILECs had, which were the incumbent local exchange carriers. So think of your global phone providers like your AT&Ts, your Verizons, your CenturyLinks. These companies essentially had a monopoly over the entire telecom infrastructure. So in 1996, the FCC passed this law and basically said, hey guys, we got to break this up, make it more competitive for local exchange carriers, and thereby CLECs were established. So you basically do have to get registered with the state of Florida, jump through a couple of regulatory hoops, and it allows you access to the same infrastructure that these massive ILECs have. So you can use the same copper lines, same fiber optics, even have access to the same data centers as well.
So it's important for businesses to make sure if they're looking at somebody that they are approved by them.
It definitely makes a huge difference in the quality of service. Having a CLEC back your telecom services means that they've got a reliable infrastructure in place. It also means that they've gone through a lot to get registered as a CLEC, and they're going to be a pretty reputable company.
Okay. Good.
Very good. So there's a lot of phone manufacturers out there. How important is it to know who's who and what's what and
what they should
Yeah,
use?
so
what they should use?
Yeah, it's really important. One of the biggest things these days is security, right? You guys are experts in that area, so you know very well. Network security is very important. And with a lot of these phones now being VoIP based, if you're getting it from a not so reputable company, there's no telling what type of security measures are in place on the phones themselves. So it's definitely in a business owner's best interest to go with the reputable company, go with some of the larger names out there like Cisco, Polycom. Take a look at their background and read reviews and, make sure that the company stands by the support as far as firmware upgrades, making sure that security patches are done. And at the end of the day, you don't want the phone to break when you put the handset down after a call.
Right.
So it definitely makes a big difference.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. So often we have a choice of either buying or renting. What are your recommendations?
So this is it's an age-old question, and really it comes down to OpEx versus CapEx. Do you want to pay for an operational expenditure and have it as a monthly recurring expense that you can account for month in, month out, which would be a rental, or an OpEx would be, or a CapEx would be a capital expenditure where you would, invest a more sizable amount of money up front to purchase your system, but then you own it outright. It really does depend on the company. Nowadays, more companies are moving towards the OpEx or the rental or leasing option. It just takes the headache away from the companies that don't have the staff to maintain their IT infrastructure or their phone infrastructure. It helps to outsource some of these things to companies that are experts in their field.
So it's really not a pricing difference either way. It's just a matter of how you recognize that revenue, whether, as you said, CapEx or OpEx. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. So I have a question for you, obviously getting more to the IT side. I know you guys operate your systems out of data centers. And what is important for businesses to ask these potential VoIP providers about their data centers and where it's housed?
Yeah, that's a huge question to ask. So you definitely want to make sure that the data centers are close to you. You don't want to have, if you're a business operating out of the Tampa Bay area, you don't want to have to connect to a data center that's based out of Los Angeles, California. Ultimately, what that's going to mean is, that call traffic or that network traffic is going to have to travel all the way across the country and then back for you to get to your destination. So that's huge. You also want to ask about redundancy. You want to see if there's going to be, I'm sorry, I think I've got something.
Oh, that's okay. I just shut mine down.
My apologies. So you definitely want to ask if there's redundancy as far as the data centers being backed up to another geographic location. And it doesn't hurt to ask what type of power backup they've got in place. It helps to know if they've got generators there, if they've got redundant internet connectivity to the data center itself. There's definitely a lot of consideration that goes into it.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you have a data center that's here in Tampa and we get hit by a hurricane,
right,
or a tornado spin off of a hurricane, then your phones are down unless you are backed up somewhere else. And I think you guys are backed up in Atlanta is what I heard. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, you're absolutely right on the location, because what a lot of people don't know is when you go out on the internet, it's got to hop from exchange provider to exchange provider to exchange. And the more hops that you have, the more potential issues you could have. And there's probably way more hops going out to LA than there is going to Tampa. So yes,
Correct.
you will end up, any one of those hops has an issue, and then they're having to redirect you, and there could be. So yeah, that is an important consideration for our businesses here in Florida.
Yeah,
Most
absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah.
So what other things should businesses be looking for in the service provider?
Yeah, so as far as a service provider, there's a plethora of questions you need to ask as a business owner or a business advisor. Definitely want to take a look at how long have they been established. Are they locally based, or do they have service technicians that can come to you, within a reasonable amount of time, or are they going to ship you something in FedEx with some how-to instructions?
Right.
That ultimately is going to make a huge difference to your productivity and efficiency as a business. Other than that, you can take a look at, the Better Business Bureau ratings. Take a look at what some of their customers are saying about what type of work they do. A lot of that these days especially speaks volumes to a business and the type of services they provide. And it's all easily accessible online too. You can readily find this information now.
I can tell you, being on the IT side, when a VoIP company is coming in, there is a difference in the level of technicians and the amount of experience in hooking up to their existing network. So yeah, that's important. I wanted to jump in on one, which is up here, working remote, which so many people are doing today. And obviously many of the VoIP providers have been scrambling to adapt to that and offer features. And so for all of those employees working home either now or long term, what are some things that VoIP providers are doing for them?
So the big ticket word is unified communications. So it's often abbreviated as UC. So UC simply means it encompasses everything, including voice, video conferencing, like what we're doing here, also phone conferencing, instant messaging, presence, file sharing, screen sharing, things like that. It brings all of these tools together in one platform. So us here at PB Exchange, we've partnered with Cisco, and we've been using their UC1 platform for some time, and we're going to be moving to their WebEx platform. So in WebEx, you'll also find they have Cisco Teams, where you can collaborate with your employees, with your clients in real time. They can share files securely, doodle on the files and make notes, and it really just helps make for easy productivity without actually having to be there physically with each other.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more companies that, at first they were, as soon as everything opens up, we're going to be back. And then they start realizing, hey, you know what? We're being pretty darn productive with people at home. And we've had several customers say, you know what? We're just staying remote.
Yeah.
And it's these are important things. No doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that brings us to my tip of the week.
Yep.
This week, Google has been struggling with some malware called the Joker. And there is a website that I have displayed, and we'll also put it in the comments of our Facebook page so that you can go visit. But basically, it's attaching itself to certain apps. So if you have these apps, make sure that you get rid of them immediately, because that's how the Joker's getting in. And so you want to just make sure you keep your stuff very secure. So again, I will put the link to the article so that you can see all the different apps that are there. I was actually looking this morning to see if I had any of them myself.
There's a lot of them. I think the article made the comment that Google's playing whack-a-mole, just trying to, it's a fix to so many of these applications, and they didn't see it, and it's used in a way to attach to private data. And it's one, everybody wants to take a look and make sure. I already looked and I don't have any of them, but so yes, very important one.
Very important.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, thank you guys for being on top of what you do, because I definitely learned something new. I'm going to check that link and check my phone immediately after this.
Okay,
Very good. Very good. All right, Wayne, what's your tip?
Well, surprise, surprise, something in cybersecurity. So there was another article that came out over the weekend, a major healthcare conglomerate called Universal Health Services got ransomware over the weekend. They're huge. They're nationwide, 400 hospitals, and they got ransomware. And it's, it just brings up the discussion that we talk about so often on these talks of, you have to make sure you're secure. And if you can't answer the question that you're secure, you have active antivirus licenses, you have a firewall, then there's a good chance there's something that's not secure. But, as we've talked in the past, that's part of the equation, right? You can have everything locked down, but there are still ways to get in. And as we've talked, email phishing, just please stay diligent. I received an email this morning from Intuit. It was from Intuit at it was invoice at notifications.intuit.com. And I'm like, well, that's pretty weird. And as we always tell you, remember the lean in moment, take your cursor, hover over the link where they want to review and pay and see where it's from. This was from www.goodlifefarms.com. And and obviously malware site.
Not Intuit.
I'm sorry? No.
Not Intuit.
No. But that's the dead giveaway. Hover over. Sure. Don't hover over. Now, going back to what I said at the beginning of this, because we run a good Sophos antivirus agent, it would have caught it. It would immediately blocked it, and that's fine. But if you don't have a good antivirus agent, it's not going to get it. So again, stay diligent on these emails. If it looks anywhere near suspicious, start taking a look, and you can email back to the provider and say, hey, is this real? Should I be, if you're not sure. Or, as we always do, reach out to us and we'll help you figure out if it's legit or not.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Well, we want to thank Riz for joining us today. Here is his information. So if you have any questions for him or us, please put them in the comments and we can see them later. Or his number is listed right below us. You can take that down and give him a call. I believe that brings us to what's next week?
Next week, well, talking about remote employees, and which is driving more and more, something we've touched on before for Windows virtual desktops, remote desktops, people running virtual desktops. We're going to dive into that deep and talk about what's good and bad about them and should you be considering them.
Very good. Very good. All right, Riz, thank you again so much for joining us today. It was some great information.
This is great information.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really good stuff from you guys too. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. All righty. That concludes our program for this week. We hope you have a great week and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye now.
Bye, everyone.